this course. The professor is in, the class is in session. Let's talk about money making skills. In today's course, I am going to be taking you step by step, giving you real practical examples of how you can bring more money into your house. It's going to be a step by step training of different ideas of how you can bring money so you can start practicing money making skills. So what exactly is this course going to be about? In this course, I am going to be talking to you first about the importance of money making skills. It is a skill. That means that it's something you can train and you can develop. With practice over time, you will only get better at it. Then once we've given that introduction, we are going to move into specific examples of different types of things you can do today to not just bring in money in today, but we're also going to start helping you think long term. From things you can do like gig apps to make money today, to building a bona fide product business long term. These are all different money making skills, and at different points in your life, you will need a different tool for your money making opportunity. We'll keep the introduction low and we'll move on to the PowerPoint and get started. So welcome to the money making course, Moving Beyond Cutting Expenses. So this guide will equip you with the knowledge, the skill, and the strategy you need to develop money making skills. And the way I'm kind of doing it is that I am grouping the different specific examples of money making opportunities into these criteria. How much education you need, how much training is required, what is the startup time, and by startup time I mean how quickly can you actually make money with this particular example that I'm giving you. Time flexibility. Is this an opportunity that you can kind of do on your own time, or do you have to go sit in an office, right? It's not good or bad. It's just based on what is your preference, okay? And then what is the income growth potential? Because that's why we're here, right? We're here for the income growth potential. So if you've cut back every expense, you've mastered couponing, but you still find yourself financially struggling, this course is for you. It's time to start learning extra money making skills, because money making is a learned skill. It took me a long time to realize that, right? Because I would look at some of my friends, like naturally, I am one of those people who started learning this skill very early on. I mean, I was on it. From the time I was 17 years old, not only was I working 3 jobs, I also started selling Avon. Did I make money? No, but I was developing the skill set. I was developing the internal confidence and the skill set needed to be where I am today, okay? Money making is a learned skill set, and it can help you create long-term financial security and freedom well beyond your 9-to-5 job. Even though we advocate for you keeping your 9-to-5 job and leveraging it. But money making is a skill set. I didn't realize this, honestly, until I met certain friends who didn't have that framework, right? Every time they would be in a financial pinch, they will freak out and start cutting back expenses here and there. And then as soon as they get a little bit of an influx of money coming in, they will go overboard and overspend, right? So they really weren't learning the skill of money making or the skill of money management either, right? But ever since I was very young, I've always been practicing this skill set. At the age of 17, not only was I working multiple jobs, I also was running a business. I joined an MLM and I started selling products. Did I make money? Oh no, I didn't. But what I did do is develop my mindset, right? My self-confidence, and I started learning a lot about basic business principles. And that is what I believe has led to my success today. Now, who is this course designed for specifically? It's designed for people who are struggling financially, even though they have been financially responsible. And it's also designed for people who they're struggling financially. You've been responsible with your money, so you do understand budgeting. If you don't understand budgeting, there's a class that's coming up on budgeting. Make sure you watch that as well. But the foundation, before we get to money making, we have to fix the money that we currently have. Because if you're wasting the money that you currently have, this course will do nothing for you, right? It's like you're digging a hole for yourself, right? We're not going anywhere. But this course is also for people who have a full-time job. If you don't have a full-time job already, we probably need to start there, right? What do we do to help get you to a place where you have a strong career? And my channel is all about empowering people with strong careers to build a 9-to-5 or the side hustle. So if you have a job and a career, you've mastered your money, but you're still struggling financially, this is the course for you. Let's go ahead and talk about kind of like what I'm calling the core of money making skills. If you haven't done so already, pull out the pen and paper and make sure we're taking notes, okay? So first of all, in order for us to really sink this into our heads, we need to start with some basic principles or understanding. So what exactly is a skill? I love looking up definitions because definitions give you context and perspective in a way that just us flippantly using words doesn't really make things sink into our brains. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it makes a big difference. So what exactly is a skill set? A skill set is a learned ability. It's the capability to do something well, often through training and practice. This is really important. If it's a skill, it requires training and practice. So if the only practice you've ever had was your full-time job, then you've actually never developed the skill of making money. And developing money-making skill requires education and learning. I know, for people who are like, F education, I'm sorry. You do need some sort of education and learning. And by education and learning, you guys, I don't mean going to school and get like sitting in a formal setting. I recently bought a farm, and I probably met some of the most educated people in the rural countryside who didn't have a formal education. But throughout their lives, they had an education. And they had a learning period. Right? So when I say education and learning, I don't just mean going to school. You need training and practice. And you need a mindset shift as well. So let's talk about the mindset shift. And by the mindset shift that I mean here, this is really important because a lot of people don't engage in more money-making activities because they just don't want to. And I understand that. If you don't want to, honey, you don't want to. But when that cash really starts to dry up, it motivates you to want to, right? So that's one category of people. And then there's a second category of people who just don't have the confidence and the self-belief that they can do it. I'm here to tell you that you can. And it's just a matter of you practicing the shifting of your thinking, so that you can arrive at a place where you're beginning to develop that confidence. And let me tell you something, confidence comes from doing. You can sit in your house and pray your way to confidence. You can sit in your house and cry your way to confidence. Confidence, in order to succeed and for you to have the ability to learn and earn, you need to actually go out there and start doing the work. First, you believe it. Lie to yourself until it becomes true. Here are some words of affirmation you can use and really tell yourself, I can learn new skills. I I am capable of hard work. I can create new streams of income, right? Start using that as your mantra. And then go out there. After we run you through all of these great ideas, pick one and just run with it, right? And what you are also going to need is a strong work ethic. Consistency and perseverance here is going to be very important. People who develop money-making skills have a strong work ethic. They are consistent, they persevere. And eventually, you will have to start developing what I call opportunity recognition. The ability to identify and act on money-making opportunities. With that said, let's start talking about the broader categories of money-making opportunities to increase the income that's coming into your home, right? To build on your current full-time job income. Before we get started, and this is why it's really important for this course that you be somebody who already has a full-time job. Of course, if you don't have a full-time job, these are still good money-making opportunities. But for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and they're struggling, and you have a full-time job, here are two things you need to do. First, before we even dig into the actual money-making opportunities, I want you to first look at ways to increase your income in your full-time job. Because your full-time job is your foundational income. That should be your biggest income that you're bringing in. Option number one with your full-time income, ask for a raise. Request a salary increase based on your performance, your value, and your contribution to the company. This is really important. The education you need here is none because you already have the specialized skills and you were already doing the work. But I'm a big believer while you're working to always be boosting your value. Did you get a certificate in the past year or two that you can take and say, hey, here's how I added to my specialized skill set? The training required here is really none, right? Because you have the knowledge of your industry. The startup time, this is pretty immediate, but you need some preparation. We are in January, so let's say you wanted to ask for a raise in March or April. Start writing down all of your accomplishments from last year. Start teasing the conversation with your boss. Start looking for people in your organization that would vouch for you. Did you do any interesting cross-functional work? Really think through that. And if you don't have anything, start making it a practice of writing down how you're succeeding throughout the year. The income growth potential here, depending on how much money you're currently making in your organization, it's usually anywhere from 5 to 20%. Like the 5 to 10 mark, that's usually what most people get when they get a raise. So examples, I kind of shared a little bit of the examples. Prepare evidence of your accomplishments and contribution. Cost savings, increase in sales, right? You participated in a cross-functional team project that contributed to X, Y, and Z. Don't talk about the things that you did. Talk about the results that you got. And if you do not know how to do that, I do encourage you to hire a coach, even if it's just going to be 1 or 2 consultations to help you articulate your results. I had a job where I didn't think I had results. And then I hired a coach and I was shocked how many results he was able to pull out of the things that I had done in 1 year. Research average salaries for your particular role and use that as a tool to be like, hey, come on, give me more money. Timing, right? Let's say your boss is like, well, this is not the right timing or whatever. Ask if they can give you a project so that in the next annual review, you can use that to say like, hey, you gave me this project. We talked about this. I did this project. Can I get more money? If all else fails, they're like, no, we're not giving you more money. And they have the right to do. But then guess what? You also have the right, under these circumstances, to give them a resignation letter. Okay? So this is when you consider switching jobs. This is how I really grew I've never had a promotion in a company. I've never gone through the process of asking for a promotion. I currently did a video on 9-to-5 jobs being an asset. And I tell the true story of how I never thought I would end up with a full-time job. To me, my full-time job was always like, whatever. My full-time job was always in my head. I always thought I would end up being an entrepreneur. So my full-time job was something that I never really took seriously until very recently. But along the way, what I did take seriously though was my education and my training. I always believed in adding value to myself. I just never took that value to go ask for a raise. But what I did do was network quite a bit. So almost every job I've had was somebody coming to me and being like, hey, Nandy, what are you doing? There's a great opportunity. Do you want it? So switching jobs to a new employer takes advantage of better opportunity and significantly higher salaries. Because I went from making about $39,000 a year, 10 years later, making well over 200. Now, a lot happened along the way, right? I didn't just like switch jobs and this money came. I added my education. I learned how to articulate my value. And I also moved cross country to chase opportunities, and I networked a lot. So let's talk about the criteria evaluation for this particular money making opportunity. Depending on the industry, right, you may need to add more education, which is what I did, right? I added an MBA and I added a master's in pharmaceutical science. Training required minimum if you're moving into a similar role. I moved from being in the lab into moving into like a business sales type role, so I added an MBA. Startup time is pretty minimal. Well, I think it depends on the situation and whether or not you have to add extra training. But it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months to a year. But it does require some time for you to search for a job, to update your resume, to do some interviews. Income growth potential. To me, this is the best income growth potential and probably the easiest out of all the ones that I'm about to talk to you. Right? And you can get anywhere from 15 to 50%. I had one job that almost doubled my income, but it's because I moved from being in the laboratory to moving into the business side, right? Usually, unfortunately, scientists don't get paid very well, but business people get paid better. But when you have a science background moving into the business side, that's really when you begin to see a significant boost in your income. So here are some examples of how you can execute on this particular strategy. Research companies offering competitive salaries and growth opportunities. Update your resume and LinkedIn profile, highlighting your achievements. Use job platforms. Use recruiters and network significantly so that you can secure interviews and offers. I have to tell you this. If you're on LinkedIn and you have recruiters writing you and spamming you, you have two options. You can ignore them or be rude to them, or you can answer them with kindness. And when you need them or they have an opportunity that's really great for you, guess who they are going to go to? Be persistent, and honestly, this is really important. Please be proactive in following up. When I was ready to leave one job, probably the only job I had that was toxic, I updated my resume, worked with a career coach who helped me determine my wins. I created a write-up and I emailed it to every recruiter I know. And I followed up with them every 2 weeks. And then one day, out of the blue, a recruiter called me, and that led to doubling my salary, but I had to move to a whole nother state. Okay? Follow up, follow up, follow up. Now, if you've done all of that, or there isn't an opportunity for you to get an increase in income or to switch jobs, now let's talk about money-making side opportunities that you can actually take on. The first one is a side job. Yes, a side job is very much an opportunity. There are additional jobs that can be done alongside your full-time job. And here are kind of my criteria evaluation. Education, minimal to none. Training, minimal, and it varies per job. But most of the time, most of these jobs, they train you on the job. Startup time, immediately. If you apply for that job at Ross or a McDonald's or at that restaurant to be a waiter and they hire you, you could have a paycheck in the next few weeks. Time flexibility. I said moderate, it depends on role, but you really don't have time flexibility, let's be honest. Okay? Income growth, very limited. Let's just be honest. But it's still money. We don't laugh at money. I wasn't laughing at money. I was just laughing at the growth potential. You won't be getting a growth potential, right? So for a lot of these, you won't really go from like 15 to like 100, right? Most of the time, you're remaining steady. Babysitting is an example. Tutoring is an example. But really what I mean here by side jobs is that I mean working at the grocery store, working at the restaurant, working at something locally where you apply and they start giving you a paycheck right away. The pay for these tend to be lower, let's be honest, right? And usually the lower the pay, the faster you can get the job too. So it's up to you, but definitely a side job is an option. This one is not really one that I recommend a whole lot, but if you're really in the bind and you need something right away, you get this. I'm just over having to go into a place that requires me to be there at a certain time. Gig apps. Gig apps, this is what I usually recommend to people. When I talk about money-making side hustles, this is what I'm talking about. So with this, you're learning to leverage platforms like Uber, DoorDash. This is the app economy, right? Education needed, zero. You just need a functioning brain, right? A monkey in a dress can do this. I'm just kidding. Training required, usually not a whole lot. If you're somebody who's not very good with technologies and phones, even then, they make it so easy that you'll still be able to do it. Startup time, usually just however long it takes them to set up your account and give you approval. I signed up for Spark Delivery. We'll put a video here somewhere of me delivering for Spark, looking hella tired and hella messy. But I mean, as soon as they signed me up, I think I registered on like a Thursday, and by that Friday or Saturday, I was out there delivering my groceries and making money, honey. Income growth, moderate. I mean, actually, moderate, I probably shouldn't have said moderate. I probably should have said low. Because I think that you have to do way too much work in order for you to actually see your income growth. You really have limited available hours and resources. So here are some examples. Delivery driving, you can earn anywhere from $15 to $25 an hour, but let's be honest though, $25 an hour is really good. Usually you're in that $15 range as somebody who's done it, and you can deliver for DoorDash, Spark, Circle, etc. Another one where you can make a little bit more money is renting out space in your home. This is not for people like you don't have money, so you can go actually do what I did where you buy your property. You can do some of what I've also done, which is in your house, if you have extra spare bedrooms, fix them up, rent them out, and you can make anywhere from 30 to 150 a night. For some places, right, that are more expensive places to live, like California, you can get up to $50 an hour, but that's very usually 50 is more reasonable, right? Especially if you're renting a space inside of your home. Now, if you did what I've also done, I've done a lot. That is, in your home, you go through a construction process and carve out a space so that those people who are coming have their own private space. You can absolutely get to 150. Because for me, I have a 300 square feet studio apartment that I rent out for anywhere from $1,700 to $2,000 a month, but it's in a high cost of living area. So that 150 is possible depending on the situation, right? And depending on the location. Vehicle renters, Turo. I've never done Turo personally, but the people who've done Turo make really good money off of that, right? So that's a great way, and it's passive. But just keep in mind the liability with your rental properties. I can actually put cameras and see what's happening when they're staying inside of my house. I can kind of hear them, what they're doing. But with Turo, they're taking your car and taking it somewhere else. Now, the people who do it swear by it. and they make really good money. So it's worth talking to somebody. What is it going to cost you? Give it a try, right? And then you have task platforms. Now, task platforms, I've never done tasks before, but if you're one of those people who, let's say you're a cleaner, you're good at organizing, you like doing handyman services, furniture assembly, this is for you. Get on TaskRabbit, sign up. You can also sign up for Rover also, right? Rover is all about dog walking. So lots of opportunities with the gig app. This is really where I recommend anyone who's never had experience making extra money, start here. Start here. You will be amazed. And when that money comes into your phone, like you see the money, like when I first got my food delivery money, you guys, I was making multiple six figures, but I was like, I made money, yay! Because honey, every extra penny we make, we celebrate over here. Creative endeavors. Now, this is not me. This is not me. I am not a very creative, crafty person, but in this particular section, this is for the crafty nannies, the crafty girls, right? Girls and boys. So you can turn your craft, your hobby, your artistic talent into a product or a service that you sell. Education, not really much, right? Unless you want to go to like art drawing school. This is not really an area that I'm particularly knowledgeable about in terms of the behind the scenes, but my sister owns one of those crafts shows, and what I see, some of these people, I mean, I have bought things for like $50 that I was like, just not because I really wanted it, but because the people were so talented and it was so enticing that I was like, take my money, take it. Training required. I think it depends on your craft. Startup time, it's a few weeks because you have to create whatever the craft is, and then you have to sign up for a trade show or a flea market and go sell your trade or your craft there. The time flexibility, to me, it's actually pretty good because you have control over your time. So the criteria evaluation for creative endeavors. Education needed? None. Unless maybe you wanted to go to some sort of crafty school. Like one of my friend, she does like welding. She works with metal. She's really creative. She's really good at it. So she took a training program at a university, but it's just like one of those continuing education courses where she goes once a week. It's a group of them and they learn how to do this metal working thing. So that could be, but it's not required, right? Training required, it depends on the craft. So yeah, so she's getting the training with the welding. Startup time, weeks. You need to create your inventory before you actually go sell it. Time flexibility is pretty moderate for the most part. You have control over your time. I wouldn't call it high because you still have to sell during a certain period of time unless you're selling your things on Etsy. If you're selling on Etsy, this could really be moderate to high. Time flexibility. Income growth, it's moderate, right? And it really depends on scalability, honestly. If your business is scalable, then you have more opportunity for wealth. But usually with these types of crafty handmade businesses, you're competing with cheap stuff from Claire's. So I don't know how you scale it up because I'm not very well versed in this area. I don't know how well you would scale it up because to me, some of those things are a little bit expensive that I go, why should I pay you $50 for this little necklace when I can get it for like $12? But I do truly value things that are handmade. So I find myself buying handmade things, but not that often, to be honest. Examples, handmade goods. You can sell jewelry, candles, clothing. Yes, clothing is a big thing. People putting some design on a shirt and selling that to people. Whew. As somebody who doesn't buy those things, I'm amazed at how much money people make and how much people would just buy. Oh, I saw a cute saying that I really identify with, so I'm going to buy it. So don't sleep on clothing and design on clothes. Digital art, you can offer logo design, social media graphic, portrait on Fiverr or Instagram. Woodworking. This to me, these people are amazing because they have skill sets I just don't have. I love, like, most recently I bought a tray, like a table tray. Yo, I don't even use it because it's so pretty. But this guy is a woodworker and he also uses resin to make it look a certain way. I mean, whew. So you can make shelves, home decor, photography. Yes, here photography is big, right? And even videography. We can also add videography here. So you can sell, print online, or you can offer event and portrait photography. That is it for creative endeavors. Let's talk about high skill trades. So if you look at all of these so far, so we've gone from money making opportunities that really don't require much, like with your full-time job, just go ask for a raise, do some things you're already familiar with, get the money, boom. We've talked about gig apps where honestly all you need is do on your phone and you start making money. We moved from that to things that require your talent, and now we are moving into things that require skills. Talent often is not enough. Sometimes you need skills to really start making real money. This is when you move from just making a couple of $100s here and there to now we're really starting to talk about real life-changing money. So high skill trades will offer specialized services and they require a formal education sometimes, but sometimes not. And these can lead to actual scalable businesses. We're now changing the paradigm in the game here. So the criteria evaluation, is education needed? I believe that it's always a yes. And by a yes, it varies, right? You don't need a formal education, but you do need the time to actually learn something. Coding, for example, you don't need to go to school to learn how to code. However, you would have to have put in the time to learn how to code, okay? Training require very high. This is why with education, I'm like, oh, you may not need an education, but you do need training. And the training is really high because in order for it to be a high skill, that means that you do it with a certain degree of expertise and you do it better than me, right? So this requires practice and often it requires certification. So there's a body that's certifying that you actually have the education and the knowledge and the practice for this high skill trade. Startup, this is months to years, right? We've moved away from things that you can do and make money in the next few days. This one you would need to put in the time. Time flexibility is moderate to low initially, but the potential to have a little bit more time flexibility if you scale it up is higher, okay? Income growth, it's high, especially if you can scale it. By the way, I have specific videos coming on each one of these trades where I go into details. Let's give you some examples here, right? High skill trades that require no formal education but still require training. Think about being a freelance coder. You can go work on sites like Upwork. You can solicit your service to people yourself, but Google offers some certification. That's a formal education. Sorry. So let me back up. You can use platforms like Upwork, TopTal, Fiverr to help get clients. So for cosmetology, as a makeup artist, you can do makeup, build a solid clientele, and make really good money. However, being a hairstylist, a barber, a skincare therapist requires that you have a license. So you do have to go through a formal education process. And so will you have to if you're a plumber, HVAC, an electrician. But the good thing about all of these is that first you start as an individual contributor. You're working for somebody, you're learning from them, and then eventually you can become a solopreneur, right? What we call a solo entrepreneur. You can work for yourself, and then transition from working for yourself to hiring some people to do the work for you, that is the income scalability here, right? And for these businesses, you can make anywhere from 20 to sometimes 50 or $100 an hour. And when you scale up, your income potential is really up to how much stress you're willing to have as a business owner. Now, we've gone from jobs to the creme de la creme, building an actual bona fide business. If you're somebody with a high skill trade, this is your next step, right? Create a business that provides a product or a service. And this, you guys, is the ultimate money-making opportunity with very unlimited financial potential. The criteria of evaluation here are education needed, high, often requires self-study or formal training. The training required is intensive because it includes a combination of business acumen and operational skills. The startup time is long. We're talking years. For some people, maybe even over a decade. Amazon didn't become profitable until year 10. Usually year 10 is when you see companies become really profitable, but there's a difference between being profitable and growing, but that's for another course. Time flexibility is very low initially, but it improves as your business grows. Because when you own a business, all of the time you are working, right? Because you're the janitor, you're the assistant, you're the office person, right? You're the cook, you do everything. So let's talk about some examples. When it comes to online businesses, I have to be very careful and honest with this one. I included it because it's an important example, but this is where, to me, things can get very scammy and dangerous, right? Drop shipping. I'm sorry, drop shipping is a scam. I would never recommend drop shipping. It's a scam. But being a content creator, though, is not a scam if done right. If you take the time to build an online presence, you can then leverage that online presence to sell products, services, etc. E-learning is very real. You can either create your own course and teach it on Teachable and Udemy, or you can just have your own website where you teach your own course. Service-based businesses, this is probably where I would prefer for you to be as opposed to just online businesses. Definitely, if there's an opportunity for you to start a YouTube channel, do social media, you should, right? Because to me, that's the best way to market whatever services you have. Now, these next two is really where I would like for you to be, but they also cost you more to start, so trial and error, see what works best for you. Service-based businesses, consulting, you leverage your expertise to advise a business or individuals. Every single one of you, especially if you have a good solid 9-to-5 job, you have some expertise you can leverage, right? And this is where combining content creation and your expertise would help you. Digital marketing, let me tell you something. Of course, I don't know where this is going to be with the rise of AI, but hiring out somebody who would help you with SEO, social media, and content creation services, this is a business that's here at least for the next 5 years. And then the third example is product innovation. This is probably one of the hardest business to go into, but if you have the money and the patience, and you can create some sort of product, this is when you move from something that could be unique in a service-based business to something that is proprietary. And proprietary businesses is where you really begin to make the real life-changing, like your children and your great-great-grandchildren will still have money type business, right? I can't say too much about this because I haven't done that, but we've all seen those businesses. Walmart, right? We know the Walmart family. Their children and the grandchildren cannot work for the next 120 years and they'll be okay. Jeff Bezos, I mean, he can have 3,500 children, and their children will still have way more money in their lifetime than you and I can ever make. So this is when you develop and market a unique product that solves a specific problem. You can use crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarters to fund the production, but this is really when you're taking your money making skills to the next level, right? We've gone from little things like asking for a promotion to side gigs to now I am really moving from physically doing the work to really thinking about a unique opportunity that nobody else has. I'm testing it out. I'm figuring it out. I'm kickstarting. I'm really learning high level money making skills, right? So when you're really learning high level money making skills, it's really important that you assess your skill set. Identify what you're good at and what you enjoy. Research opportunities, right? Match your skill with your income opportunity. So for example, if you have some skill set, you were raised doing some plumbing work, that's an income opportunity. You can match that skill set with the real income opportunity. Can you go to school and boost a little bit of your knowledge and education and training so that you can command an even higher salary? Set goals. Define how much you want to make and by when. Start small. Begin with the low investment option and then build your momentum. Low investment option, asking for, I gave it to you from needing less effort by starting with your full-time job to the gig economy. It really doesn't require much, all the way to creating a product-based business, which really does require a lot of research. Track your progress as you go. Evaluate each income stream and adjust your strategy as you go. Money making truly is a skill that anyone can learn. And with the right mindset, education, and practice, most importantly practice, whatever you choose, your opportunities are endless. So with dedication and strategic effort, you can absolutely break free from living paycheck to paycheck and moving into achieving financial freedom and living a life of abundance. It's possible. You can do it, and you can do it starting today. This concludes part 1 of this series on money making. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another video. I really appreciate it. As always, please click the like and subscribe button if you like this video. If you yourself have ideas of which one of these money-making opportunities you want to start tackling, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear how you would be using this course and all of these ideas to start bringing more money into your home today. And in the next videos, you will see me start to post specifics on each one of these money-making opportunities. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in part 2.